Hello everyone, this is Alonzo. Want to know how to get your first cloud job? Then please register for our webinar. We'll teach you everything that you need to know and answer your questions along the way. Hope to see you there. Hello everyone, this is Alonzo. Want to know how to get your first cloud job? Then please register for our webinar. We'll teach you everything that you need to know and answer your questions along the way. Hope to see you there.
My name is Richard Ferrer, and I can say I am cloud hired.
That yes, come and join and get cloud hired. I'm cloud hired.
I'm cloud hired.
I'm cloud hired.
Hey, Go Cloud Architect family, I'm cloud hired.
Well, I'm cloud hired, guys.
So I'll just say I'm cloud hired.
I'm cloud hired.
I'm cloud hired thanks to Go Cloud Architects.
It worked for me, and now I'm cloud hired.
Because of Google Architect program,
I am cloud hired. See!
I am cloud hired. Thank you, Mike and the Glowcloud team.
All right, everybody, welcome to another Cloud Computing Career Q&A session from us at Go Cloud Careers. So we come on YouTube every week to answer your questions about anything cloud computing career related. Whether you want to become a cloud architect or a cloud engineer, or you don't even know what a cloud architect is, and you want to know what is a cloud architect or what is a cloud engineer, or you're looking for cloud architect courses, cloud architect training, we are here to answer your questions. So let me know that you can hear me by putting a hashtag cloud hired in the chat box, and we'll get started here. So want to introduce ourselves here. The team on this call has over 50 years of leadership experience, and we're here to help you build your best technology career. We've got Mike over there next to me. He is our founder and CEO, and he's been in tech for 25 years and has held elite architect positions for over 2 decades as a network architect, an enterprise architect, and a cloud architect. We've got Alonzo. I believe we got Alonzo. Alonzo was having some issues earlier. Alonzo's there, I think.
We've got Alonzo.
There we go. Here. We've got Alonzo, our Chief Marketing Officer. He's an expert on marketing, branding, strategy, and leadership. And he has 30 years of marketing experience with major global organizations and has contributed to major cloud projects as well. He helps our students build elite brands that make the world come to them. And then, of course, we've got me. My name is Chris Johnson. I am the Chief Operating Officer here at Go Cloud Careers, and I've got 15 years of HR and corporate leadership experience. So we're here to help you. We all hold MBAs and have the skills from our extensive careers to help you not only get hired, but put you on your path to long-term career success. So make sure you ask us your questions. That's the whole point of us coming on here on YouTube, is for you to ask your questions. I want to point out that Mike over here, our founder and CEO, is in such high demand and has built such a reputation that it costs $1,200 per hour to speak to him on a one-on-one consult. And that list is getting longer and longer by the day. I believe we're probably at about 16 weeks right now, maybe 18 weeks
somewhere in there
behind on that list. But we come here for you weekly to take your cloud career Q&A questions. So make sure to put them in the chat box. We're only guaranteed to be here for an hour. Sometimes we go longer. Sometimes we can't go longer. So not sure how today's going to look. It depends on what happens while we're here. If something comes up and makes us stop at our stopping point at 3 o'clock, then we'll be stopping. If something doesn't come up, then we'll keep going and having fun. But make sure to ask your questions. Don't wait till the last second to ask your questions. But before we get started, I do want to make everybody aware of a couple of things. Normally we have our How to Get Your First Cloud Job webinar on Thursdays at 1 p.m. Eastern. Well, we'll still be doing it on Thursday this week, but we're also going to be doing it tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. So make sure to register at the link in the description, the link in the chat box when somebody puts it in the chat box, so that you can attend our webinar. We decided to do one at night. We've been getting a lot of requests from individuals to do one in the evening. So we're doing one in the evening. On this webinar, we'll talk about everything you need to know to become the ultimate cloud architect. We'll talk about what hiring managers want. We'll talk about what kind of experience matters or doesn't matter. We'll talk about job descriptions and human resources, what cloud architects actually do. And then, of course, we'll spend a good amount of time telling you what to actually study. So make sure to join that. We'll share with you how you can do it with us in our award-winning Cloud Architect Career Development Program, or how you can do it on your own. Either way, one's quicker, faster, and easier. The others, not. So if you want to do it on your own, you can. If you want to do it with us, we'd love to have you. But just join the webinar so you can get that information, and you can ask questions. If you don't ask questions now, you can ask them tonight. Yeah. But you got to ask them while we're here. So the next thing I want to remind everybody about is, for a little bit longer, we've got our Award-winning Cloud Architect Career Development Program available for 60% off, limited availability on the slots, and for a limited time. It won't last forever.
Oh.
We're not going to be discounting forever. Some of you may think we are, but we are not. We are not. We've had some individuals who said that they were waiting for a discount when there was a discount. And then the discount was over and they thought there was going to be a better discount. And that's not how we operate. So make sure to take advantage of it while it's available, and get your career going in the right direction. And then, of course, last but not least, make sure you're following Mike and us on LinkedIn. I'll let Mike talk about why that's important. I know that's a really big thing for Mike. That is his communication outlet to the world.
Yeah,
So
I'll discuss that. And before I do this, I want to make sure when Chris talked about the discounts, what happened is we're not going to be discounting anymore. We received over 300 emails in a period of 24 hours when the price went up after we notified everyone when it up. So I asked my team to do something which they weren't going to do and come up with a temporary discount countdown because we love you all. We wanted to do the best we can, but we can't get away with it forever. So that's why we did it. But here's why I want you to follow me on LinkedIn. 2 weeks ago, I was in Forbes. I was an IT pro today. Yeah, I'll be in another major news media. This afternoon, I'm going to post another big technology magazine where I talked about getting rehired after a layoff and layoffs and things that are going on. And almost every day now, I'm in a major magazine. And it's because the work we do getting people hired, we've gotten so famous for getting people hired, getting people the best careers. And I post that every day, or career tips every single day, because I want you all to have the best careers. I've had phone calls with people and they get a $50,000 to $100,000 raise after a single phone call. And I wish I could have phone calls with everybody out there, but I don't have the ability to time-wise. So I'm out there every single day on LinkedIn and giving you tips to build the best career. Because I want you to be like me. I was a principal architect in less than 2 years. People take 10 and 15 years to get to these jobs. I was there in less than 2 years, and I don't want any of you to struggle. I don't want anyone to ever have to think about money. I want them to be able to buy anything they want for their family members, be able to support their kids, send their kids to school, have generational wealth. And I do this because I knew the secret to building a tech career. I've spoken to thousands of hiring managers, thousands of recruiters, and I've gotten people to levels they've never even dreamed possible. And I want to help you, but I can't talk to everybody. So I'm on LinkedIn every day, so please follow me so I can help you build your best career.
All right, so let's get into some of the questions. Let's see here. Habib, I've recently enrolled in the course. How should I proceed with the content? Well, Habib, there's a welcome email. The welcome email tells you step 1, step 2, step 3. And once you get in there, do the lessons in the order that they're presented. The lessons are presented in the order for a reason. The lessons are there. So follow the lessons, watch the videos, attend the live classes, do the assignments, watch class recordings, do the assignments, do the content.
Yeah.
So I strongly encourage you opening that email, going through the first section of content in the training portal, and just start doing the lessons in the order that they're presented.
Yeah.
That's how you proceed with the content.
And Chris, I think it's very important. I think a lot of people, they're excited, they're ready to accelerate their careers, their future, and they want the straightest path, which is a straight line to where their goals are. However, you're not going to be able to circumvent it faster than what we're doing. We've already accelerated it to a point where we're shaving almost 10, 15 years off of a career path with this cloud development program. So it's very important that you read the content, not only read it, execute it. Do what we ask you to do to be successful. So it's very important that you follow directions. And it's also integral in you helping to, we teach you to understand that details matter. Doing what the client asks matters. And if we're asking you to do something, it's not because it's a guideline. These are sacrosanct. These are immutable. You have to do the work, okay? So make sure you focus. Look at all the videos that the team and Chris have put out explicitly for you. So make sure you do the work, okay?
Thank you, Alonzo. All right, let's see. Mr. Dominic, I am in your program and enjoy it very much so far. That is glad to hear,
Wonderful.
Mr. Dominic. We are so glad to have you here.
Thrilled to Mr. Dominic.
All right. And Ott says 7 p.m. Eastern will be 1 a.m. GMT time. That's why we do it regularly on Thursday at 1 p.m. Eastern, which would be 6 p.m. GMT.
Well, let's do this. So 7 p.m. EST will be 1 p.m. in the UK, which is normally GMT, but not always as it pertains to things. So 7 p.m. plus 5.
You said p.m.
Oh, so it'll be 12 a.m. in the UK.
Yep. But that's why we normally do it on Thursdays at 1 Eastern.
Because EST is minus 5 GMT.
All right, let's see. All right, so Foot Champion, are there any cloud career prospects for individuals with a police record? It's a very broad question.
So let's just go over this, because there are and there not. If you're in certain states like California, for example, it's illegal for employers to even do a criminal background check on you, and therefore you won't be affected that way. And it also depends on it. For example, I know someone who has gotten multiple major offers with a criminal background. But there's a difference between a felony background and there's a difference between a misdemeanor background. And it also depends on the state that you're in. In certain states like Florida and Texas, it will hold you back. But in other states like California, it will not hold you back. But the key is, if you fight and keep fighting, you will find a job. And here's the reason why. Many people are willing to look past someone's past if they see something good in the future, because many people do get rehabilitated, regardless of what their background is. And also, many small businesses are much more forgiving than big businesses. And many small businesses actually do hire people regardless of their background. So the key is, yes, there are career prospects, but the key, when you're not the optimal candidate, is you got to be better than the rest. And you got to be likable and have good communication skills and good leadership skills and good sales skills and really good competency. Because in the end, it's hard to hate someone that's actually a good person. And everybody's made mistakes in their life. We have people from drug and alcohol backgrounds. We have people with criminal backgrounds. And guess what? All kinds of people are there, and we can all get better, and lots of good things can come. I used to practice medicine. I saw people that had all kinds of crazy backgrounds. And you know what? 5 and 10 years later, I saw amazing things from them. So never give up on your dreams. You may have to work at a smaller company, and don't get me wrong, smaller companies can be really great too.
Yeah.
And also, there are certain states where they're much more forgiving of these things. But don't let your past define you. Go out there and build yourself a great future. Any thoughts from you guys?
Couldn't have said it better. Number one, I want you to know, don't beat yourself up anymore. Okay. Everyone makes mistakes. Everyone has a path ahead of them outside of that to move forward in their lives and be who they want to be. So never let that or anyone else hold you to that past action. Okay. Number two, you can do, there's a lot of different things, like Mike said, like California, I believe there's 2 or 3, maybe even 4 other states where they circumvent whatever you did, so that you can get a future in their company. So focus on what your strengths are. And we always talk about the SWOT analysis. And if there's some things that you feel you need to bolster on, and that includes anything outside of your competencies, then double up on it. Reduce that whatever that weakness is per se, and strengthen everything else so that you can appear and be the better candidate despite anything that you went through in the past. What about you, Chris?
Yeah, you guys have covered it pretty good so far. So not only the jurisdiction that you're in, whether it be state or country or whatever, also different companies look at things differently. Every company looks at things differently. You could have one company, even in this. Never mind, not going to go that route. But yeah, I mean, you have one company that only judges these types of offenses. You have another company that judges all types of offenses. Also depends on the role. I mean, are you in a place where, you know, maybe you've had some crimes of the financial matter that may affect you more in certain departments than other departments, or in certain organizations over other organizations. So it just depends. It depends, and that's why I started off with saying that this is a broad question, because police record could be as simple as somebody who has a record of, you know, I don't know, possession of marijuana from 1998. Well, nowadays, half the states in the United States, that's not even a, you know, depending on the volume that you had, that's not even, you know, that's not even a relative, that's not even a crime anymore in a lot of states. So I'm just using recent companies as an example. I know one hotel company that would still count that against them, and nope, zero tolerance, nothing. While another hotel company, and I know I'm not talking about cloud, but another hotel company is like, it doesn't matter. I'm not worried about that. Same thing in every industry. So it really depends. There's so many factors that go into that question. So without the ability to be able to get into your particular situation, which I'm not asking you to get on YouTube and share us all the details, but it's such a broad question with so many different caveats, so many different nuances, and so many different contexts, that it's hard to give a general answer to that. But everybody's favorite response, it depends.
Yeah.
It depends. All right. Let's see, our next question. Hello. Thanks for your great webinar. What is the future of cloud architect, especially during recession and economy, for businesses that are on short budget and looking for saving money?
I'll take this one, Chris. So in a recession, the cloud architect role is critical. And right now, while organizations are laying off, we're still getting people hired. How aggressively are they hiring? Well, 2 weeks ago, we had someone get hired at a Big Four consulting company as a senior cloud architect with zero tech background whatsoever. We also had someone get their first enterprise architect job with zero tech background whatsoever. So here's what you need to look at, Mr. Norstad, or Mo Norstad. There's two kinds of positions that companies hire. They hire architects, which either design a solution which can save a company money by improving business processes and things. They're critical. Or they hire cloud architects, which most of us work pre-sales, and we generate revenue. So while an organization could be doing a layoff of their engineers, chances are they're hiring architects. Now, here's the people that typically get laid off. And we're going to have a webinar for people that are laid off on Friday, because I'm an expert at getting them rehired. By the way, with the guidance I've given people now, I've only had one student in 20 years actually ever get laid off. He had a 6-figure severance and he had a $300,000 job within a week. So engineers, which are back office staff, get laid off. And here's the reasons. Architects bring in money, engineers cost money. Now, an engineer can be offshore to Africa, to India, and find an equal capability person. An architect generally has to meet with the client. So architects are very safe. Now, back office personnel, HR people, systems recruiters, marketing people, they typically get low, but sales and cloud architects are typically always there in a recession. And we're brought in a recession to basically say, hey, wait, we had to lay off 10% of the population. What new things can we use to leverage technology to replace those people? How do we become more efficient? How can we optimize the supply chain? So now, in a recession, cloud architects are great, great, great. But I wouldn't want to be in the hands-on engineering business right now.
Yeah.
All right. So let's see. Nigel says, I'm thinking of enrolling, but I'm not able to attend all the live classes due to work. Will that be a major issue? Honestly, I don't think I know anyone that's ever attended every live class.
No.
I don't. I'm sure there's some that attend regularly 1 or 2 classes a week, but I don't honestly, I know more of people that never attended a class. And all they were able to do was listen to the recordings or watch the recordings and take part in the Slack community, and do our online, do our on-demand content and communicate with us through Slack and communicate with their fellow students through Slack. And I know more of those successes than I do people that have had difficulties because they haven't been able to attend live classes.
Yeah.
So I think as long as you can attend at least one a week and you watch the recordings and you do the work, you should be good. But if you have questions or get stuck, then you need to come to class. Most people don't make them all. Now, we've had a few students that made it to every single class. Most of them work for me now because they got so good so fast that I actually hired them myself. But yes, as long as you attend one class, ideally two, you're fine. We don't expect everyone to come to every class, but two things. One is you can go back and watch all the classes we've done for the last 2 years. And I recommend it because, I'm always about over preparation. Better to be over prepared than under prepared. And two is, we designed it in a way where we know not everybody can attend every class, but we record every class too. So you should be good to go as long as you come to class when you can. Do the work, follow the course in order. Don't skip any lessons along the way, and follow the prescribed path. You'll be in great shape.
All right, let's see. Habib says, is there any possibility that companies sponsor for this kind of job? I'm here in Italy, originally from Pakistan, because companies in Italy do not pay even close to 50K.
Well, Habib, I know lots of people in Europe that are earning far more than 50K, that are earning far more than 100,000 euros as well.
Yeah.
So not just a little, a lot of people. We've got people getting great jobs all over Europe. So that's actually not true at all. Now, I'll tell you, Habib, first, we deal directly with people. We don't deal with corporate sponsors because that's not the way we do our business. We intentionally charge as little as possible and provide a course that's realistically worth about $50,000 on the open market. But what determines your pay, honestly, is not about the tech at all. I had a manager many years ago, and he really did me a favor. He changed my life, and he changed the course of my client's life. He pulled me in a room, and he says, Mike, do you know the difference between a $150,000 engineer like you and a $300,000 architect or distinguished engineer? I was like, tell me. He said, see, all these techies are focused on getting 10,000 certifications, and they're worried about their hard skills, and that's not the key. He says, it's the impact you make on your customers. It's your leadership skills, your sales skills, your executive presence, your emotional intelligence. He said, that gets you an additional $100,000 a year. And he said, look, you can build your CXO relevancy. Wow, you're talking $300,000 plus, and he was right to me. Now, Habib, I'll give you some really good statistics. According to salary.com, the average person with business acumen earns $549,000 per year. What jobs require business acumen? A principal architect, for example. A principal architect at Microsoft earns $378,000. A principal architect at Google earns $508,000 a year. A senior director on average at Palo Alto or Cisco earns about $550,000 a year. So yes, these jobs are there. Yes, these jobs pay exactly the kind of salaries we're talking about. But you can't be the hands-on techie to do it. You got to be what we train, someone who has the leadership skills and the communication skills and the presentations and skills in this. And if you put the time in, you could do very well.
All right. CTech 22. What do you think of doing a help desk role to start your career in IT? What's your goal?
Yeah, so let me find out what your goal is.
What's your goal?
Yeah.
So we have to find out what's your goal. And here's the reason. If you like being on the phone and dealing with angry people when their computer doesn't work, help desk is a great place. Now, I generally advise people never to start in help desk for the following reasons, unless they like it. Now, if you like help desk, I think it's great. But two things happen when you start help desk. And the reason I'm saying this is some people have been told you have to start at help desk. My first job was a senior network engineer. I have people starting as senior cloud architects and enterprise architects with $180,000 to $200,000 jobs as their first tech job. I have people that haven't graduated high school getting $160,000 jobs for big banks. So if you want to do help desk, I think it's great. The challenge for your career when you do help desk is you get a help desk brand. And that makes it very hard for you to get any professional jobs later. It will cost you a fortune in training and professional branding to go from help desk to anything else. But if you like help desk, build a career out of it and be happy, and that's really what matters. But I don't want you falling into this trap. There's a couple of characters out there that recommend CompTIA certifications in help desk and say this is the way. It's the least efficient way of building a high-paying technology career. It's like saying I'd like to be a nursing assistant and then work as a nurse and then eventually be a doctor someday when you could just go to medical school. And if your goal is to be a nursing assistant, and nursing assistants change people's lives every day, be a nursing assistant. And if your goal is to be a nurse and love it. But it's not how I would start a career unless I wanted to be help desk. And I'll tell you, I've helped countless people I can't even imagine. And I've never had anyone that had to start in a sysadmin or a help desk role to get to the top. And you don't either. But if you like help desk, I think it's awesome. So tell us what career you'd like, and then we can tell you exactly how to get there. But if it's help desk, that's fine too. Some people love it. So CTech 22, if cloud engineering or DevOps, that's the career you should start with. Now, if you are a software developer, DevOps is a good option for you. If you're not a software developer, you need to be a good software developer long before you can think about DevOps, because it's merging software development and operations. Cloud engineering, that can be your first job, CTech 22. First job. We've got people that this first job when we were training cloud engineers whose first job was a cloud engineer. First time, no big deal. Here's the thing, get the right training. For cloud engineers, that involves understanding Linux and Python and Terraform, network and data center technologies, and cloud technologies. Master those things and become a cloud engineer. But if you go from help desk and then you want to switch to cloud engineering, it's going to take you much more work than it actually would for cloud engineering. Plus, financially, CTech 22, it's the worst thing you can do. You can get your first cloud engineer job at about $100,000 or $100,000, $10,000 a year. If you become help desk for 2 or 3 years and earn 40, first, you lost $60,000 for the first 3 years, which is almost $200,000 of lost earnings. And then you're going to start your cloud engineering career at the same $100,000 to $110,000 3 years later. And so that's also going to hurt you. And it's going to take you another year to transition from career to career and another year to learn help desk. So if your goal's not help desk, please don't start there.
All right. Let me get back up here. Okay. So Nigel says, I'm based in the UK. Do you think there are better job opportunities stateside? And then a follow-up, is this too good to be true? And then our Canada. States, I guess they mean on this, just in general, North America, I guess.
Nigel, it doesn't matter. I have people getting $300,000 jobs in Australia and New Zealand. I'm getting people getting great jobs in their dollars. I have people getting great jobs in the UK. Although I will say, ever since the UK started exploring the 4-day work week, which means employers need to hire more people, I will say they're paying about 100 to 130,000 Great British pounds in general in the UK. I've got people getting $300,000 jobs in Canada all the time. Do I think there's better opportunities in the US or the UK? Yes, but we've got people being hired all over the place in the UK for big 4 consulting companies, for cloud providers, and they're very happy. So, in fact, we had someone who had no tech background whatsoever just get an enterprise architect job in the UK for JP Morgan Chase. And he is all kinds of happy.
He'll be with us tomorrow night.
He'll be with us tomorrow night. You can hear from him. Is he from Nigeria or is he from Ghana? I can't remember.
I can't recall.
I can't recall.
I know he was in Africa, though. I do know that. I just don't.
But I know we have our first hire in the UK was Ian. Then we had Akwo, who was Cameroonian, get hired recently over there. But we had, was it Rob? I think Rob D was over there. We had so many people getting hired all over the world, in Germany and all over.
No.
Do the research.
If you do the work,
right now, go to your browser, and inside of your browser, Go to Glassdoor and type Principal Cloud Architect salary at Google. You'll see $508,000 will come up. In fact, if you want, I can actually bring in the actual printouts of the screen. I've got people hired every day. You're going to hear from one of them tomorrow, Nigel, who's in the UK that never worked in tech before in his life. And you can go to our website and you can look at Daniel Bosu, who didn't graduate high school, who's working at JP Morgan Chase. You can look at Balwinder, the stay-at-home mom that's at Microsoft these days. You could look at Coyote, who works at AWS, never worked in tech before in his life. You can look at Romanik Ivan Tamban, never worked in tech in his life. We don't have a video of Vladimir, but he's 24, never worked in tech in his life. You can see example after example after example. Now, Nigel, here's the key. It's the right training. Well, other people are training somebody to pass a test, and when they're done, and even Daniel Bosu spent $35,000 before he came to us, and all he got to do was pass some silly CompTIA test. We had to start him from scratch and retrain him and got him hired. But no, we've got a program, and we spend 500 hours plus training people, and we get people hired every day. You can ask Alonzo what it's like getting those phone calls, or Chris what it's like when somebody's hired.
And also, Nigel, if you don't believe the people in this panel with all the experience, feel free to reach out to anybody on the chat. There's tons of students on here that can attest to what we teach, how we teach it, and the end result of those who have already have been cloud hired. They continue to even join in our classes to continue to hone their skills. So we have the experience. We definitely have. We showcase what we do, but please reach out. Look at the testimonies on YouTube. Look on the websites. Look on Glassdoor. Pull up the salaries, and of course, the students will not, share that personal information, but they will attest that they are experience very lucrative salaries at this time.
And while we're at it, check out the number of articles that were either written about us or that we wrote. You'll see us everywhere from Investors Business Daily to Forbes Magazine to Tech Republic to Tech Radar to Information Week to DevOps Magazine. And there's a reason these companies ask us to write articles. We were in over 70 last year. We won the award for Best Cloud Online School of Cloud Computing because we love when people get hired, and we take a different approach. The team on this call, I have a $325,000 education. Alonzo's got 150, and so does Chris. And there are only 3 people on our team of educators. And that's why our results are so good, because we're not just somebody that passed an exam. We're actual professionals.
All right, so let's go with our next question. I'm going to skip because it's an important one. So let me get down here. CTech22 says, every job posting requires experience. This is the reason why I wanted to start at the help desk.
CTech22, every job desires experience. And guess what they also want? 3 Olympic gold medals, experience, and this, and this, and this. What if I told you CTech22 and go look at the websites of all the videos of the people that had no tech experience? Just go look at it. I've never had more than 10% of anything that was ever on a job description. I got told you got to start at help desk. I used to practice medicine. I laughed at the person when they told me I had to start at help desk, and they said, if you don't want to start at help desk, you've got to be a network admin. I said, I'm not working as a network admin. I'm not going from medicine to one of these jobs. I can't get a job that pays me less than my current job. So I told everybody I was going to be a network engineer. They laughed at me. I went on my first interview. Devendra interviewed me, and he stopped the interview, and he said, oh my God, you're great. And he said, but Mike, you're not a network engineer. You're a senior network engineer. I said, but I've never worked in tech. He said, that's right. He said, you're better than 2/3 of my staff, and you never worked in tech. Guess what? 6 months later, I was lead architect. 2 years later, I was a principal architect. But within a year, I was designing the world's largest market maker on the NASDAQ systems. And you can do it too. You can be like Daniel Bosa. But yes, all job descriptions have a wish list of everything. And here's the reason why I see Tech22. The average decent organization gets 5,000 applications for a single position. 5,000. A company like Amazon had 25,000 positions that are open. So 5,000 applications for a position. So what they do is as follows. They basically come up with roadblocks. So the key CTech22 is not to apply for these jobs, but to make the employers come to you. Delroy Batt had 0 certifications and got 3 job offers, and he turned down 2 and accepted the one he wants. Our students in most cases don't even need to apply because of the branding work, but that's why we have a chief marketing officer with 30 years experience in marketing, who also has an MBA, because he built big global brands like AIG, and what he teaches our students to do can build a brand that good too.
All right. So Stefan says, hey guys, what do you think about getting a degree in cloud computing at Western Governors to help you help get your foot in the door.
Stephen Richards, I think degrees are great. We constantly retrain people that went to Western Governors and had bachelor's and master's degrees, and we train them. Rich Ferreira, for example, one of our first students, went there, and then we retrained him and got him hired. We have another student who also went there, and we retrained him and got him hired. So what I would say is, it is a great school. They offer a good education at a cheap price. But if your goal is to be an architect, it's completely irrelevant. And here's why. They do certification training and Python training. And what's the problem is they're not teaching the networking training. They're not teaching the data center training. Now, we have to figure out which career you want to determine if it's good or bad for you. But at least for the cloud architect, they don't teach the network, the data center. They don't teach the sales, the business acumen, the leadership skills, the emotional intelligence, executive presence. So there's that. Now, Stephen Richards, if I wanted to be a cloud architect, I would take a training program like ours. And if I really wanted to be a great cloud architect, I would get a master's degree in business or a business degree, because that will teach you so much more than you can possibly imagine. So much more than you can imagine. And that is the absolute best.
All right. And following up from a different perspective, Juan says, I'm on my 5th semester of college, software development. I have a good paying job and nobody cares about my lack of degree anymore, but I want to switch career to cloud architect. Does it look bad in my CV if I drop out? Can I start this one off?
Yes, please.
All right. So, 2 things. Well, first of all, people only know what you put on your CV if you put it on your CV. There's no reason to list that you went to college if you don't want to. Even if you graduated, there's no reason to list it if you don't have to. Like, unless it's going to benefit you, there's no reason to do it. So if you don't have a gap, so you say you have a good paying job. So if that job covers that possible gap of leaving college off of your resume or your CV, then that having that job on there doesn't, it fills that gap, so to speak. And this is from a pure HR standpoint, not from a hiring manager standpoint, but just from a pure HR standpoint. So if you've got the ability to keep that timeline full without listing a university or college or junior college or whatever, and I'm not suggesting that you drop out by any means, but if that's what you desire, if this is what you desire, then it's not detrimental if you can fill that gap. And again, this is just from a purely mathematical HR standpoint, looking at a piece of paper. So that's my 2 cents there. Now, what I would do if I were you and I was looking at your picture, I'm going to guess early 20s. If I were in my early 20s again, and I've already got 5 semesters worth of college credit invested, I would see how much of that college credit can go towards a associate's or a bachelor's degree in business of some kind, and see if you might be able to get some type of business degree. Again, associate's, bachelor, anything, business, with that credit, with maybe another semester or 2 of work. 5th semester is beginning of junior year. So hopefully you haven't taken too many classes in your specialty curriculum of software development that it makes that counterintuitive. Hopefully a lot of your credits that you already have accumulated are general ed credits, for a lack of a better term, that you can kind of push over to a business degree. That's my 2 cents. Those are the 2 things when I started off saying 2 things. That's my 2 cents on the matter. Yeah.
Alonzo, you're a very educated person. Why don't you give your perspective and then I'll give mine.
I'm thinking definitely when it comes to, I'm reviewing this again to make sure that I got everything. No one cares about my lack of degree anymore, but I want to switch careers to cloud architect, it doesn't matter. I want you to get that degree, Juan. I think what I really feel is that if you want to focus on a career, it goes, I'm really looking at this and I can see a lot of different possibilities, but the one thing that I would recommend is focus on a degree related to business. This is my personal opinion, not in anything specific. We need, not only can you have a skill to do something specifically, but you need to have business acumen. You need to understand how a business works and how you're going to effectively provide value and business transformation for that organization. So don't be specific when it comes to software development, anything else. Tech changes. And what you're learning by the time you get out of school, it's going to be deprecated. It's going to be old. So I would focus on business first, and then you can be more specific in your execution on competency.
I love that. And Juan, I'm going to give you a different perspective of the same thing. I want you to finish your degree. Now, the reality is you can probably get a cloud architect job before you finish your degree. I know you're one of our students, and I'd say to do one course per semester, do not drop out. Become a great cloud architect. Change your major to business or psychology, but I prefer business. But psychology can help you connect with others in business, but I prefer business. And have your employer finish paying for your degree. And here's the reason why. We can get you to $150,000 to $200,000 job without a college degree. That's no big deal. And when you're done that, if you take our How to Earn More Money in Tech program, we can probably push you all the way to about $300,000 a year. But the jobs between $300,000 and $800,000, and you know, I've showed you some of these architect jobs. They're going to require a bachelor's degree. So please do it. Please don't stop. The key is be honorable on your resume. You can put it in progress, and that's totally fine. You can put that you're a part-time student, or you don't have to put it on your resume if you don't want either. It doesn't matter. Just don't put anything on your resume that's not true. Position yourself properly on your resume. Have a really good executive summary. And when you go out there on an interview, if you don't have a degree, I have to understand, you're going to have to be 10 to 20% better than those that do. And here's why. Here's what a degree really means. You put up with it. And when you had a professor that was mean to you, you kept going. When the students were mean and silly and partying and drunk, you kept going. So it's almost just that you can actually finish the degree. But please, don't quit the degree. Do one class a semester. Have your employer pay for it when you're done. Get a great cloud architect job. But I want you to have the most options in the world. And even though you're our student, and we can help you get hired, and you're a really motivated guy, and I know you're going to do it, just try to finish the degree. But I recommend business. I would never recommend a software development degree anyway. I wouldn't recommend anybody become a software developer right now. ChatGPT is going to replace 50% of them.
Mm-hmm.
But please finish your degree, and ideally in business.
Right. Next question. I'm in Nigeria, and I'd like to enroll. Any possibility of getting jobs?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to Nisisong. Hopefully, I'm saying that correctly. Yes, we have students from Nigeria. We have opportunities there in Nigeria, and I believe AWS has just opened up a location there in Nigeria. So yes, and yes, you can enroll. We would love to have you. We can get you competent. We can get you squared away, ready to have your first cloud architect position, and you can be very successful. So you can do anything you want to do. Set your mind to it. We provide the curriculum to get you from point A to point B as effectively, as well-rounded, as fully capable as you need to be. But you can get a job in Nigeria, or you can get it from remotely. So it's all about what you want to do. So yes.
And we even have, you can do all of that. We actually have 2 employees in neighboring Cameroon as part of our organization, Eddie and Ansem, that are over there in Cameroon. And we also recently had, God, I'm drawing a blank on his name, the really good networking guy, Chris, who just moved from Nigeria to Canada. He's one of our students. Benedict. Benedict, who's a wonderful guy. So you can work in Nigeria, you can work remotely, although it's harder to get, but you can still do it, and you can potentially move to other places, just like some of our students do. But you have to be great, because when you're not local, you got to be really, really great to put extra time and effort into it.
All right, so let's see. Here's our next question. Just got the AWS SAA, and I have hands-on skills in the AWS infrastructure. What else should I improve on to be a cloud architect?
Well, Terraform has nothing to do with what architects do. Kubernetes has nothing to do with what we have to do, and hands-on skills has nothing to do with what we have to do. We have to design, present, and sell technology. So do you know how to build an ROI model? Do you know how to present in front of a 1,000-person audience? Because you're going to have to. And guess what? As part of the interview, you're going to have to deliver a presentation. Can you sell? And I don't mean selling a car. Can you build a business case and show the customer that investing in your $100 million solution will help them, for example, that will give them $200 million of business value? And you can't lie about it, so it's going to be honest and ethical. You got to prove it to them. Can you lead a large team? Do you know BGP, OSPF, IP addressing, subnetting, supernetting, VLANs, VLAN switching, VLAN tagging? Because that's architecture work. Do you know DNS, DHCP, ARP, and proxy ARP? And not how to configure that. That's what engineers do. Architects don't touch the tech, they design it. How about servers and server virtualization and containers and container orchestration and storage area and networks? When to use which kind of databases? NoSQL databases, relational databases, how to create data lakes, and it's not like anything that's ever taught in these certifications. When to use the next generation firewall, when to stack your firewalls, when to use intrusion detection, intrusion prevention systems, and how to design multi-cloud architectures. That's what you need to be a cloud architect. But we don't touch the tech. Anything that's taught in a hands-on program is systems administration and not architecture. We design, present, and sell. So they're the things you need to do.
All right. When will companies start hiring for cloud engineers again?
Well, I don't.
It depends on where you live.
Yeah.
It depends on where you live. So if you're in the US or the UK or Canada, expect most cloud engineers to be gone. Now, I'll tell you which cloud engineers are going to make it and which ones are going to be gone. And I don't recommend regular cloud engineering programs for anybody, but I would recommend a different kind of cloud engineer. ChatGPT can do everything that a cloud engineer can do. And for the most part, it can do it better, faster, and cheaper. It doesn't ask for a raise. It doesn't complain. It doesn't get hired because you don't like me. It doesn't need health insurance. It doesn't go on strike. It can write a Terraform script. It can write a CloudFormation script. It can write a Python script. It can configure Linux and anything you want. So there is that. Now, you have to realize this, Yardman. Now, business, as the CEO of a publicly traded company, has a legal responsibility, or he can go to prison, or she can go to prison, to increase shareholder value. That means increase revenue, decrease expenses, or make the organization more profitable. That's it. And it doesn't matter if your engineer is paid $200,000 in New York City, or you get the same equivalent pay in India for $56,000 when adjusted for inflation. You can hire one engineer in India versus 4 engineers in New York, and I promise you the people in India will be just as good. You can hire an engineer in Cameroon, Cambodia, Chicago, California, and guess what? Yes, I like the Cookie Monster, so I alliterate a little bit, but the point is it really doesn't matter. So engineers that are just hands-on, I think their careers are over. Now, engineers with good sales skills, good communication skills, good leadership skills, that go deep on one topic, there will always be a need for them. Someone that can bring together 10 people in an international community, lead them to come up with a great result. So Yardman, those people will still be hired. They're called distinguished engineers or principal engineers. They don't get laid off. But I think cloud engineering is in a really bad way. And I would not be trying to be focused on building an engineering career right now, unless you do it with all those leadership skills. I'd be focused on architecture careers. And I expect a lot more cloud engineers to be laid off and a whole lot more cloud architects to be hired.
All right. I'm not sure about this one, so I'll put it up here. How can I get a job as a vulnerability manager?
Well, so I wish Delroy Batt was here. So Delroy Batt was a student of ours. He was with us for about 3 weeks. We taught him security. Next thing I realized, he's working for Brookstones doing vulnerability management. He continued to stay on our course, and I was working for CDW. So I would say learn security. And I would say the following things. I would say get some good experience on Kali Linux, which is penetration tools. And you can download that for free. I would say get a server and start hacking into things, create some virtual machines and hack into it. I would learn about firewalls. I would start learning about patching of systems and anti-malware systems and really securing systems. I would really focus on learning security. And that way you could start as a vulnerability manager, but you could actually do lots of things. Get some experience with firewalls, build some in a server, for example, really go on there and learn it. But that's not our area of expertise. Getting security architect jobs? Sure. Hands-on engineering like that, that's not an area of expertise. But I do know if you know those things, you'll have a much easier time.
All right. Hey, Michael, how do you suggest a senior network engineer move to a network or solution architect role in the US market?
Got lots of experience here. And to put it in an example, Mo, here's my background. I started networking a long time ago. In fact, my CCIE number is 7417 back when it was such a hard 2-day exam, where the failure rate was so high, Cisco had to make it a 1-day exam because too many people were failing and complaining they were going to buy Juniper stuff. So that's how long I've been in networking. And for example, I had Joe Millen, who was a student of mine, was a senior network engineer, and he's now a senior solution architect with AWS in my training program. So the good news is you most likely understand all the networking things. Now, as a good network engineer, chances are also you've got some knowledge of load balancers and some knowledge of networks generation firewalls and some knowledge of IDS, IPS systems. And maybe there's some learning to do on the storage area networks as typical in virtualization computers and databases. But for you, Mo, the problem is actually not the tech. It's the architecture. And here's what I mean. Most network engineers know router OSPF1. They put a network statement in which part of area 0, or router BGP 65312, neighbor 192.168, remote AS 65313. That's engineering. Now, the architecture is, if I asked you, how would you design an IP addressing plan for 20,000 remote locations? Or we've got 8 ISP connections and they're all 1 gig length. How would you set up your BGP peering session so you could load share without getting out of order packets? That's more architecture. So the key is going from engineering to architecture. And maybe you can do that easily. Maybe you need some training. The big issue is nobody wants a network engineer or a cloud engineer to be an architect unless they get special training. So you've got 2 options. Option 1, which is what I did, which you don't need to do, was I went and got an MBA and I took $100,000 of leadership training beyond the MBA. Option 2 is you take a program like ours. So here's the difference. As an engineer, you build, and as an architect, you design. And it's a completely different way of thinking. I'm working with a phenomenal CCIE right now. In fact, I actually hired him to actually teach some software-defined networking to my students because he's so great. And he actually said to me the other day, he's like, Mike, this architecture piece is almost easier if you don't have engineering because you don't have to focus on it so tightly. So the key is you've got a lot of assets. So what you need to learn is how to sell. Then you have to remember architecture takes a team. The same way after 25 years in networking, I'm an expert on BGP and PIM sparse mode, and that's it. I don't know anything about wireless, anything about voice, and all those other things. They're separate fields. As an architect, you got to lead a team of experts. So there's that. So you're going to need leadership skills. Now, Mel, you're going to have to give presentations in front of executives like CEOs and CIOs and CTOs. You're going to need some training there. You're going to need to give presentations at conferences. So you're going to need some training there. You're going to have to write white papers and thought leadership documents. You're going to need some executive writing things. You're going to need to learn how to sell. You're going to need to learn how to build a business case and an ROI model. You're going to need how to develop something called CXO relevancy, because if I tell Chris, and Chris is my chief operating officer, and I couldn't live without him. If I said, Chris, guess what? This router can handle this many packets per second. Are you interested in the router? Just look at him. He already looks like, what, are you kidding me? No, if I said, Chris, this network can increase your employee productivity by 13%. Are you interested now?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so that's the key. So you have to learn how to be CXO relevant. By the way, that was $20,000 of training that Cisco sent me for you. Just that. Now, because this is a finesse job, you got to be doing a lot of work on your emotional intelligence. Believe me, I spent years on it, decades on these things. And that's really the difference of the things going from an architect is how to design it and how to do it. You could do what I did, which is basically take $100,000 of training post-MBA and do an MBA and then do other things. Or you could take our Cloud Architect Career Development Program. For most network engineers, we're dealing with about 3 months, and you'd be working as a cloud architect or a solution architect, and you'd be doing really great. I'd love to work with you. I love working with networking people because the cloud is nothing more than a network in the data center that's virtualized. But engineering and architecture is quite a bit different.
So a follow-up, how do you suggest someone become a better communicator in the workplace?
Well, for me, it was $100,000 of training, plus I also studied internal medicine. I was forced to learn how to communicate there. But I would take a course like ours, or you could take an executive communications course because you're going to have to learn how to communicate to executives. I did several. You could take some CXO relevancy courses. Speak Easy in San Francisco has a beautiful course, talks so people listen. I think there's 3 of them that I had to take, and I would say recommend all 3 of them. When you're done that, practice giving speeches constantly. But that's what I would do, and that's exactly what I did. And now what happened is I knew most people couldn't afford that, and that's why we created our program. And Alonzo, what's it like watching these engineers turn into architects?
I love it. It's amazing. That's one of the things that I really take joy in is a lot of people, they feel that they're doubting that how can I transition from here to here? How can I swing that pendulum? And they come out the other end, and we get those great calls, those great texts, and sharing like I got my first cloud job, and it just speaks to how well we do what we do, and it doesn't matter if it's tech based, not landscaping. You used to be a short order cook. It doesn't matter what it is. We provide the right formula to transform anybody into a great cloud architect.
And networking is the best foundation for everything because nothing works without the network. A network engineer knows you could never use a single cloud, for example.
Right.
Because we would never use a single service provider.
No, never that. Yeah. I don't think anybody would want to go into a building where there's one way in, one way out. So I want to make sure that I have other means of escape or to get in and out as I deem fit.
Oh, Mr. Dominic asked a great question, but he's thinking about it just the wrong way. But I love his thinking. He's already starting to think like a business executive. So, Chris, you want to read that question for my voice, and then I'll answer it?
Yeah. So do you think that when engineering jobs get obsolete in the future, that many people switch to architecture, which in turn makes architecture less demanded?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, here's the thing. He's got a great theory, but he has to think about it a different way. And that's just due to lack of experience. What happens, Mr. Dominic, is the more technology systems are developed, and the more our lives get dependent upon technology, the more we need people to tie the pieces together. So when I was an architect, there was just a few jobs out there, and we were pretty darn technical. And then IBM and Cisco actually started the real architecture world, along with Microsoft. And we were business executives mixed with technology professionals. And then everybody started moving towards architecture jobs. So what will ultimately happen is more artificial intelligence gets out there. More wireless technologies get out there. Everything from your refrigerator to your washer and dryer starts telling you when your laundry is done. Gets out there. Cars become self-driving. Wireless becomes so pervasive that it's talking to things. Our satellite things and our imaging things go everywhere. Who's going to tie these pieces together? And it's an architect. So what I think you're going to see is 2 sets of people. The people that are focused on the tech are unfortunately going to be in a terrible, terrible way. Now, Mr. Dominic, a lot of the people in the tech don't like communicating with others. They hate it. And unfortunately, what's going to happen, and it saddens me deeply, which is why I put out all the materials we do, it's going to be like the manufacturing industry was for these people. We had a lot of wonderful people that used to build stuff. Wonderful. And none of Alonzo comment on this because Alonzo really has a great business hat on, a very strategic thinker.
Yeah, I think let's continue to look at this engineering. You're thinking that if I'm looking at you at your thought process correctly, you have to understand that nothing's going to be static. Nothing is going to you're going to get from point A to point B. As we move forward, innovation continues to move. So as you continue to do that, although the technology may adapt, you may get the chat GPTs, which continues to, I guess, create more of a funnel of less need for engineering. And it's going to get to a point where everything will be automated, but you can't eliminate that human component of innovation, building relationships, creating that sense of confidence within the cloud architect and his and her team on how they can provide efficiency, or whether a CEO can rely, which is not a binary quantitative thing that you can do. I can rely on Chris. I can rely on Mike. I can rely on the team to get things done and get things done transformatively, where they can create and use their own imagination to make solutions happen. So when it comes to that, there's never going to be a end expiration date to requiring professionals, whether it be cloud architects or not, to not understand business relationships and being able to utilize your personality and those around you to close the deal, get those solutions done, create solutions, and be able to constantly innovate so that your company, your leaders can know that this is the go-to person and team to get things done.
I'm going to add a secret here, Mr. Dominic 123, because you're one of our students. All elite jobs are architects, all of them. And I'll give you an example. Chris is my chief operating officer. He's amazing. I say, Chris, I need a solution for this. And guess what? He figures out a way to make it done. Guess what? That's called the business architecture. I'm the CEO of a company and I set the strategy of a company. Guess what? That's called the business architecture. When Alonzo figures out how to create the best brand, whether it be us or our students, that's a marketing architecture. And when you go from cloud architect to focusing more on the business, that's an architect. A strategy consultant is considered a business architect. Almost every job that pays over $300,000 a year requires architecture in some way, shape, or form. So architect jobs get more and more plentiful. But I do think what things like ChatGPT will do, which is sad to me, is it'll create a bigger wealth disparity. It'll create architects that are getting paid more and more and more, and hands-on techies that are going to get paid less and less and less. And that's why we're out here really begging people to start learning how to communicate and lead and things like that, because I don't want anybody to get left behind. How about you, Chris?
All right, so we're going to go to our next question because we got questions to get to. So all I need to do is enroll and I'm good to go. All you need to do is enroll and do the work.
Yes.
The program works if you do, okay? You have to do the work. We're giving you, look at it this way. You have, from some folks who say they can do X, Y, and Z, it's a large pool. It's not, it's very watered down, but we have a very concentrated execution of how you can be successful. We give you all the tools you need. We give you the community to work in with people from all over the world who have the same vision as you, come together through solidarity, teamwork, interaction, and so forth. All we need you to do is be diligent, focused, and dedicated. There may be times where you want to go somewhere and you can't. Focus on your goals. There may be someone you want to see. Go back, focus on your goals. Look at where you stand to be over the course of the project, of the program, and then you realize the investment that you put in will be worth your while, but you have to do the work.
Yep. Exactly. All right. So in your experience, how long would it take for someone to start today and study 3 hours a day and be ready to apply for
It's a nice word problem.
Okay, so here's the thing, Mo, and you have a network engineering background, so it depends on how well you communicate. I'll give you a couple examples.
That's a different Mo that has a network engineer background.
Oh, okay. So, Mo, it's going to depend. And the reason is there's 500 hours in the program. So if you take 500 divided by 3, it's 150 days. But there's other things for you to do. How fast do you learn? I don't know. How well do you communicate? I don't know. And I'm trying to be fair and honest with you. How well do you present? I don't know. I will tell you, on average, it takes about 8 to 12 months for someone that's never worked in tech before, and about 6 to 8 months for people with a tech background. But it might take longer, and that's why we give everybody a full year in the live program, because nobody needs a year, but we give it to them to everybody because we want everybody hired while in our program. Graduation to us is hired. But honesty and integrity are everything in life. You can't just give people false hope or bad information, and I just don't know. I mean, I became a principal architect in less than 2 years. Other people never get there in 25 years. We can get an average person there that puts in the right effort probably in about 5 years to a principal architect role. But it depends on how hard you work, how motivated you are, how fast you learn. Any thoughts here, Chris or Alonso?
Well, I'm thinking that it takes a focus. You know, you have to be focused on what you're doing. You have to be focused on how you're going to execute, and then you'll be in a good space. So it's about time management and doing what you can to make it happen.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, Mike hit it on the head. I mean, there's so many factors that go into this. The biggest key is, how do you learn? You know, everybody learns differently. So your 3 hours is different than my 3 hours, and it's different than Mike's 3 hours, and it's different than Alonzo's 3 hours. Mike can learn things in 3 hours that would take me 3 weeks to learn. So it also depends on what you bring to the table already.
Yeah.
You know, there's some people that already have everything that we could possibly give them as far as executive precedence because of their experience, because of their previous experience that they bring to the table. And so all they need to do is focus on their tech skills and take part in the classes and the community. So arguably, the soft skills are the things that are the hardest thing to learn. So those people are at a distinct advantage because they have the hardest thing already figured out.
Right.
But then there's others that have all the cloud knowledge possible. We just have to reconfigure it to architecture-based cloud computing knowledge and work on the soft skills. So it depends on what aspect, because this is a multifaceted career. And our program is multifaceted. So it really depends. It's hard. Studying is only a part of it. So saying you study 3 hours a day is not. Does that mean that you're also including your presentation practices, your interview practices with fellow students,
That's what I was going to say.
Workshops, your projects with other students, you're doing homework? I mean, so if we're talking purely studying and reading and watching content, then that's only one piece of it. So yeah, it's such a long. It could take you 3 weeks. It's worked for somebody in 3 weeks. I can't remember his name. I think his name is Joe off the top of my head.
Richard Foucault got through in 3 weeks.
Richard.
Joe Millen got through in 3 weeks.
But they all brought different things to the table. They all had different things. Everybody's got something different. So it could be 3 weeks. It could be 3 months. It could be 9 months. It could be 6 months. Really depends on you and what your situation is. So.
And one thing I want to say definitely is leverage the community, Mo. There are so many people who are in the same position as you. They may be strong in competency, challenged in technology, or reverse, but there are so many people out there who want to learn, and there may be different time zones where you all can get together and incubate your skill set on your own, and then combine what you know in study sessions. I mean, there's so many ways to be innovative and creative within the community, along with the mainstream focus on the self-paced learning, as well as what's happening in the live classes.
Well put.
All right. So, gentlemen, if it's okay with you, I'd like to put up the next question, and I'm going to address it purely from an HR perspective.
Okay.
Because I think that's the only perspective that matters in this.
Okay.
If you don't have the experience, I think it's okay to lie a bit on your resume and LinkedIn. You have to be competitive. Everything is fair that you can use to further your ends. So if you lie on your resume or your application or any part of the actual job process, you will be fired, and you could be sued, or you could face criminal charges, or all three of them. So is it worth being fired, sued, and facing criminal charges to lie on a job application? I don't think so. So it's not okay to lie.
It's not even,
there is no such thing as a bit. You lie or you don't lie. You're honest or you're not honest. So that's, if you want to lie, that's on you, and you can be fired, sued, and face criminal charges.
And also, E-Money, I saw that you had a response, but look at your brand. You just told anyone that you're willing to do anything to further your own ends. That says a lot. I know your intentions is not what how it's perceived, but you have to be able to showcase A, I can be trusted. B, I can be trusted within a team. C, you can trust me to treat you fairly and not do anything duplicitous behind my back to, as you say, use to further your ends. So you have to be very careful about what you put out there to people, what the perceptions are, because perceptions stick. And if you're sharing that you are willing to the ends justify, the means justify the ends. I can't remember. I keep throwing that back. But the point is you have to do things right. Don't do things fast to compromise your ethics, your morals and values, because they matter. They matter so much. And if I can't feel like I can't turn my back. Well, you said, come on, guys, you all stretch the truth a bit on our resume. Nobody just states the exact truth. But what I'm saying is, if you are competent in what you know how to do, I think if I'm experienced, if I got 30 years in marketing experience, but everything I tell you is wrong, that means I've got 30 years of incorrect knowledge, versus if I have 1 month, 2 years of explicit subject matter marketing experience and I'm very competent in what I do, who are you going to believe? Yeah. So you have to ask yourself that, E-Money. You have to be honest with yourself.
There's nothing on my resume that's not honest and ethical. And I'll tell you, I've interviewed over 5,000 people. Now, I actually kept a jar of cookies in my office for the following reason, because I got in trouble for calling security and escorting liars out of my room early in my career. So I'm going to tell you a couple of things. One, I can spot a lie on a resume a mile away because it's clearly there's something that's missing.
Yep.
Two, when somebody does interview, I'm going to interview them on what's on their resume, and the most complicated thing that's on their resume, I'm going to interview them. And if they fail that question, I'm going to go so deep, so fast to prove them a liar. Yep. I actually would keep cookies in a cookie jar, and I don't eat butter, I don't eat sugar, and I don't eat flour. I've been on the paleo diet for forever. And here's what I would do. I would ask a question. If they answered it great, I'd move on to the next question. If I got any fluff, I would go find the most complicated thing on their resume that I didn't think they knew at all. I'd ask them a question, and the second they'd lie, I'd start feeding them cookies. For the rest of the 15 minutes of the interview, I would politely escort them out of the room. Now, here's what would happen. They'd try to interview with me on another job when I was in a position to hire them. And I'd say, I remember that person, they lied to me.
Yep.
And not only that, when the person was done lying to me on the interview, and they said, what was it like? I said, the person lied to me. Let's make sure HR knows never, ever to bring this person into the room. So
yep.
Either you're honest and ethical, either you treat people fairly, you treat people the way you want to be treated, or you're not. And you don't get very far by treating people improperly in this world. So I don't ever think there's ever an excuse to lie on your resume. I don't think actually, I'll give you 3 excuses when you can lie in your life. If your wife or your girlfriend or your husband says, does this make me look fat? Yes, that's the opportunity where you can be polite and say something. But other than that, the only time I can actually ever think of lying and it being okay. But no, there's no time we're not being truthful with your customers, with your hiring manager, because they're going to find it. What do you think is going to happen if they manage to sneak you in and you don't know something on your resume? You'll be fired, and you have a black mark on your resume, and sometimes a background check, and they find it there, you're going to be fired from your next job too. So be honest, be ethical, be a good person.
Yeah, I mean, if you find yourself in a position where you, as you put in your last comment there, stretch the truth, then take the time to do what's necessary not to have to stretch the truth.
Yes.
Yeah. And we're not browbeating you.
No. I don't have any idea. I don't have any idea who the person is. I'm glad I'm glad it's behind the handle.
Yeah,
behind the username, because
I just want to make sure that they know that we're trying to help. We're not
and
trying
not just
to,
you, but everybody.
Right. We're not trying to help underscore any action that could be detrimental to your career. Now, I want you to understand that in the cloud architect community, there's a significant amount of certain professionals there, but your reputation matters in that community so much. People are they are trusting you to not pigeonhole them into something that they feel is subjective in cloud service provider strategies, and they're relying on you to steer them in the right position in the amount of multi-million dollars of money that they have to account for, and they're trusting you to give us the right direction.
Let's look at this. I'm gonna take it down so that it doesn't feel like we're
and then I want to discuss Avi after you do that.
Yeah. So let's discuss one of the most common stretching the truths, which is a lie. Employment dates.
Yeah.
If you try to say that you're employed somewhere that are not the dates that match up with your employment, that is one of the first things that are going to be found out on a background check, is that your employment dates don't match up. And if your employment dates don't match up with what you said, well, you just lied. You didn't stretch the truth. You lied.
Yep.
So that right there, even though you might have had a great interview, you've gotten the job offer pending a background check. Woo, you got the job offer. You got a $260,000 a year job offer pending a background check. Everything that you've submitted is now being used to check your background. Not just a criminal background, any career background, employment background. I get a reference check and it literally says, here's the information that's been input by the potential employer. And then it has a whole separate section of what's your information. And does it match? Does it match? Does it match? It doesn't matter to me if it matches or not. I'm putting in what my records say. It's up to the employer to determine if my record's not matching your records is a problem. And most of the time it is. Because the employer, especially if you're going to be dealing with customer sensitive information and it requires trust, the employer is not going to want somebody that they can't trust giving them accurate information about their employment history. So that's just, and again, I use that because that's the most common in every industry at every job is employment dates.
It's a perfect example. It's so pervasive. So many people have lied to me, and nobody's fooled. That I remember the first person I hired, I'll call him Avi. He was an Israeli guy. His name wasn't Avi. And I interviewed someone that lied to me, somebody else that lied to me. I was my 8th person that lied to me on that day. And then Avi comes in. And Avi interviews for a network engineering position. I asked him a network question. He says, Michael, he said, I wish I knew, but I don't. I'm just so excited to be here. I learn real fast. I asked him another question. He gave me another. And on the third question, I said, what do you know, Avi? And he says, well, I know a lot about being Jewish. And he said, I also know a lot about Windows NT. Anyway, I interviewed the guy. He was smart. He knew his Windows NT. He was hardworking. He was so honest with me that I felt so good about him that I went to my manager, Devendra, and I said, Devendra, I want to hire him. And he said, good network engineer, Mike? I'm like, not exactly, but really great guy. And my manager says, good knowledge on this? I said, not exactly, but I'm telling you, he's got the right attitude, the right honor commitment. I'm going to train him. My manager says, anything else I need to know about this guy? I said, yes. Because he lives 3 hours away, on Friday, he needs to leave by noon because he has to be home by sundown. And he can't eat anything in the cafeteria, so if he can't bring his lunch, he's going to have to go to the kosher restaurant that's 30 miles away. Other than that, let's hire Avi. My manager says it's on you. Not only was Avi a rock star, he now started a company. He sells Chromebooks all over Africa and other places where people may or may not have even been able to afford computers. I'm proud of Avi. Avi's an amazing guy. He's done work in the developing nations. He's helped so many people. I'm so glad I hired Avi. And Avi's not the first person I hired with no background. I've hired so many people with no background because I'd rather train somebody than be lied to by somebody.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Yeah. So, I mean, if you want to stretch the truth or be liberal with the truth, that's up to you. If you're okay with it, that's up to you. We're just speaking from our experience. That's not something that we're okay with. So, And a lot of people aren't okay with it. There's people that are okay with it. That's up to them. That's fine. If that's how they are. If they're okay with it, that's okay. But I can't be. I'm not. I'm the worst. My wife gives me such a hard time. She's like, "Yeah, you stopped trying to lie to me after like one day." I'm like, "Yeah, I'm a horrible liar." But anyway, let's get back to some of these questions. Let's see. Daniel Chen. I have extensive experience in tech, but always felt lacking business acumen, executive presence, and all the soft skills, resume branding. Does your live session cover soft skills extensively? Yes.
Yeah, man.
Right before Friday, you get to enjoy our class on Friday about branding and perception from Chris and Alonzo.
Yep.
How is our live session structured? So our live session is structured 3 classes per week. 2 classes are tech classes, and 1 class is a soft skills class. So at least 33% of our live training is soft skills. Now, every single tech class is infused with soft skills.
Everyone.
So easily 50% on the whole, if not more, is soft skills focused. Because Mike could be teaching a class or someone could be teaching a class about high availability architectures. And that class is going to include the discussing of the importance of communicating the solution or gathering the information and how to do these types of things. And that's just a general example. But our tech classes are infused with soft skills classes. And then we have 1 dedicated soft skills every week. So, Mike, you want to share?
Yeah, so in every class that we're either just talking about something, the students are describing the technology to me in much the same way they would in an interview or presenting an architecture. Daniel, we're so known for this that we had a director over at AWS come to a class and talk about why he likes to hire our students. Our students are aggressively recruited. In the coming weeks, we actually have an employer that's got over 350 jobs that are open, and he liked so many of our people that he hired that he wants to talk to our class and say, hey, I got these jobs. Are you Go Cloud students interested? So yes, we cover it extensively in class. Students present the technology, they design it, they sell it back to us. Constantly. There'll be presentations you have to give, and our team will give you feedback on these throughout the course. Video presentations, live presentations, you'll be constantly doing it because there is no architect job without all the finesse, and we focus so heavily on the finesse.
Yeah, I'm not sure what else we can say about this. The job descriptions are worthless. They're pointless. They shouldn't be used to to determine what you want to do.
Yeah, we have tons of documentation rather to underscore that it's a ruse to discourage those who don't have the competency, and if you know, and if you don't, then you're going to move on to the next job posting. But it's smoke and mirrors because HR may not. We've been through this before, and we can definitely point you towards a lot of the examples in our links to showcase why they do what they do.
Yeah.
Or you could read Science Magazine where they tell you exactly what they're looking for.
So Fernando says, can an organization have more than 1 cloud architect?
Fernando, they could have, some organizations have 50. Well, we have a bank that has 7 of our graduates on staff, just 1 bank.
Yeah,
and our graduates, I'm sure they have another 50. Companies like AWS have thousands of them on staff. Cisco's got hundreds and thousands of them on staff. Microsoft has got thousands. A big retailer will have 50 to 500, depending how big they are. There's no such thing as an architecture that's ever designed by 1 cloud architect. Yeah. Hence the new leadership skills. So no, architecture is teams.
Yeah, and you think about all the facets of different subject matter experts within the cloud platform. I mean, it's a lot. Also, can a degree weigh more than a certification?
Here's what a certification means. Well, I'll give you 2 things. If it's cold outside, you can burn it to heat your house. But a certification can help you get an interview. But if you actually, on the interview, actually discuss anything on the certification, they'll escort you out of the room. Mm-hmm. I'll give you a couple examples why. In a certification, they may teach you to use Amazon Aurora or DynamoDB. In practicality, you can never use these things because they lock you into a single cloud, and 81% of customers use more than one cloud. In a certification, they will teach you, for example, to use CloudFront if it's AWS. Even Amazon doesn't just use CloudFront, they use 2 or more content delivery networks because they wouldn't do it for themselves. In a certification, they'll teach you something like ECS, Elastic Compute Service. Guess what? You can't use that either because it's proprietary and people build their own Terraform things. In a certification, they'll talk about Azure DNS or our AWS Route 53. If it matters, you can't use that because it's a single point of failure. You've got to set up your own F5 DNS servers across your clouds. So a degree means 1,000,000 times more than a certification. A certification may help you get an interview, but there's nothing in the certification will get you hired. So Alonzo put it best. You are the gift. Let's say you're this big, beautiful 55-inch, Sony Bravia TV, and you're sitting in a box. Best one they make with the greatest color. And then all of a sudden you put a bow on top of the box. That's the certification. The bow to make the box look prettier, but it's nothing more than that. Certification is the name of the service, how to configure that service. You can't use that name with a customer ever, because then you look like you're got your, what do you call it? You're trying to sell something you've got an initiative.
Yeah, it looks like a lobby.
Object storage, but not S3. So yeah, that's the thing.
Does cloud engineering require good math knowledge?
Not really. I mean,
network engineer probably, but
what's that?
I said network engineer maybe.
Not really. Even networking engineer, because the only math I've ever done as a network engineer was subnetting.
Right, and you need Mike. I don't care what you say. Come in from somebody that doesn't understand
the ranges, Mike.
Yeah,
you got to do the
coming from somebody that doesn't understand.
That's where Chris is coming from.
Math and pattern recognition is
pattern recognition.
Yeah, very important for that. Pattern recognition and pattern recognition for networking.
You got to do those if those subnets don't add up, Mike. You taught us well about that, buddy.
Yeah, it's really funny.
Would we have would we have math for subnetting part 1, 2, and 3 taught by Leo? Yes, math.
You know the funny part of how I do the subnetting math? I just know it in my head.
Right, exactly. We don't. So
and that's the thing. And how long did it take you to do that, Mike?
The funny thing is, I never could figure out the subnet math. I had to learn the subnet math so I could teach it. I just saw the pattern in my head and just knew what to do.
Right. That's why I went with math and pattern recognition.
Now, my wife has got good math skills, and when it comes to balancing the checkbook, that's my wife's job.
All right. Basic knowledge in Python and PostgreSQL. How do I move to cloud engineering? Okay, well, at least we're specific there, cloud engineering.
Yes, yeah.
So first you learn the network and the data center. And then after you learn the network and the data center and all those technologies, then you master Linux and become very good at Linux, like a Linux engineer. After that, then you take your basic Python knowledge and turn it into serious Python knowledge. After you're done that, get some serious Terraform knowledge because engineers build constantly. Then get Windows knowledge, specifically Windows Server. Then get some significant, what's the word I'm looking for? Active Directory knowledge, because you're going to be dealing with that stuff everywhere. Then get your network engineering knowledge, because you're going to be doing some network engineering as well. And then make sure you learn how everything from virtual machines to containers and storage area networks work, and that's how you would do cloud engineering.
All right. I want to start off the response on this one. Anakin Cloudwalker says, how do you sell yourself? It's easier for me to talk about what makes other people good. Yeah, I feel you on that one. And why they should be hired, but it's hard for me to do the same for myself. Yeah, I feel you on that one. So you're in our program, if I remember correctly. There's a reason that we have several assignments later in the program about getting feedback from your peers, previous superiors, co-workers, colleagues, fellow students, and then, I think that's got the peer assessment, self-assessment, special skills assessments. Those are specifically designed to make you think about this. How to sell yourself. how
That's
to
a part of the branding initiative, Anakin.
Yeah.
It is.
So a lot of people, it's easier to talk about others. That's why we ask you to do a peer assessment form and give it to your peers, because they can tell you about you, and then you hijack that information and turn it into you talking about yourself.
Right. And you'll realize, you'll be surprised how good you are at stuff, how skilled, competent, capable, a lot of things that we do on a daily basis. Now, this is an experiment that I'd like you to do for yourself, Anakin. Write a list today on things you know how to do. And then write another list right next to it on how it's helped other people. And you'll realize how good you truly are. And that'll be just a stepping stone towards the things that you can apply towards being a great cloud architect in the development program.
But to follow up on what I said, and then I want to get Mike's feedback here, is my perception of myself is that I'm shy. And I know that is not the reality because of what people tell me. So many people tell me that I'm like the life of the party when I'm put in a situation where I'm supposed to engage and interact with people. I just turn into this like chameleon, and I just run with it, and I'm all over the place, talking to everybody and entertaining and everything. But my perception of me is that I'm shy, I'm quiet, I'm reserved. That's me when I'm by myself, when I'm with my close-knit people. But outside my close-knit personal people, I'm like a force to be reckoned with, apparently. Is what I've been told. But I wouldn't know that unless I specifically ask people, what am I like? What are my strengths? What are my weaknesses? What am I doing right? What am I doing wrong? Tell me how I am.
Yeah, and that would be an interesting experiment.
Trust me, I honestly thought that I was like the shyest person in the world, and my wife laughs at me. I told this, and you'd think after 13 years, I'd be like, yeah, I'm not shy. I still said it the other day when we were standing in line for something. I was like, yeah, I'm so shy. And she's like, whatever. Text 5 of your friends right now and tell them that you just told me you were shy and see what they said. Every single one of them laughed at me when they.
I would like to get to see what people's perception of myself would be. I would be interested. People, I know that no two people probably might know me the same, because I know I've done a lot of different things and been to a lot of different places, but it would be, sometimes, and Chris is going to laugh, sometimes I feel shy, and it's hard to communicate or be able to, I guess it all depends on that, if you're in that situation, Chris, and then, I'll la 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 la, then other times I'm like, I'll go last.
Lady Godiva laugh out loud in the chat box there.
Who said that?
Mike. So what's your perspective, Mike, on how to sell yourself? Because you may not be comfortable talking about yourself. And
a couple things, Anakin. First, I know you. And when I actually can force you to speak, you are really smart. So the first thing is just start speaking. I'm going to tell you, I am very shy. At least I used to be, but I'm not anymore. You brought in my old manager, Alvin, and he said, Mike's an introvert. Yeah, that was true one day. So Anakin, I want you to think about it. For example, I sat down and thought, what are my strengths? Now, if I told you right now, and I said to Chris or Alonzo that I will work until the job is done, no matter how hard or much it hurts, would you say it, Alonzo? Or Chris?
Definitely would.
Yep.
Now, I know that if I say I'm going to do something for you, is it done?
Yep.
Even though I'm a forgetful person, I will get it done.
I was about to say, sometimes you might need to be reminded.
Yeah, that's the same for me as well.
But if it's ever important and you ask me to do something, I'm like, okay, is it done?
Yeah.
Do you know that I've got your back no matter what?
Yep.
So, I started looking at myself. I wrote them all down. I won't quit until the job's done. People can trust me. My honor integrity is good. I've got this. Then I started asking other people, hey, is this the way you feel? And then I looked at my other strengths. I tend to be able to communicate well. I tend to be able to create really, really great teams of the best people. My secret, Anakin, is I can find people's hidden strength that they don't even know they have half of the time. And find this person and say, wow, you come with me, I'll find the best place to put you. That's me. And yeah, I'm pretty good with tech, but the real key for me was I know how to find the best in people and bring out the best in others and build a harmonious team where people are good to each other. So I figured out those things, and I figured out how to sell myself. So find out what you're good. Ask the people around you. You know, at Cisco, we used to do 360-degree feedback on all our leaders, and I used to love getting it from my team. The people that worked for you would say something. Your peers would say something. Your manager would see something. And if it wasn't all the same thing, guess what? There was something wrong, and you had to go fix it, because everybody should say the same thing about you. So,
all right. So we got a couple of questions left. If you've got any more, make sure to put them in the chat box.
Please do.
So Faizan says, which cloud provider to opt for a career as a cloud architect?
I'm going to just address this. Yeah. Faizan, if you wanted to get eggs, does it matter which supermarket you go to? No. All clouds are nothing more than the network and the data center. So learn the cloud. Which car do you learn to drive first? It's irrelevant. If you know what a virtual machine is, it doesn't matter if it's an EC2 instance on AWS, Compute Engine instance on Google, a virtual machine on Oracle, an Azure virtual machine. It's the same technology. If you know what object storage is, guess what? Whether AWS calls it S3 or Azure calls it Blob or Google calls it cloud storage, they just pay people millions of dollars to make up stupid names that they think sound cool. Learn the cloud. Learn to drive a car. Don't learn to drive a Toyota and have no idea how to drive a Honda later. Learn the cloud. We teach students how to learn the cloud. We even have our students build their own cloud. And guess what? They work on any cloud. We train somebody in AWS and they get hired by Google. We train someone and they get hired by Microsoft. We train somebody and they're hired by AWS. We have people working for IBM from the same training. Learn the cloud and you can work anywhere.
All right. Another question here. There's two ways that this can be looked at. So Hakeem says, hey, Mike, what are your thoughts on working multiple remote jobs simultaneously?
Yeah.
Now, if you are working as an employee on the payroll of a company, good luck with those non-compete clauses.
Yes.
Now, if you're a consultant, then you can take on multiple jobs. That's expected as a consultant.
Yeah, if you're freelance,
doing multiple jobs.
Yeah.
Now, again, good luck with the non-compete clauses, because you got to make sure that you're not working with competitors.
There's a company called Deloitte.
Yeah.
No, they will fire. And I've seen this happen. There was a friend of mine, and he very good cloud architect, and he thought that he could, have his cake and eat it too. And when you're a part of that consulting firm, you can't work for anyone. And if you do, you need explicit permission to do so. Yep. And he tried to work both angles. They let him go, and they told his employer what he was doing.
Yep. Yeah. So to be clear, when I was saying as a consultant, I meant like for yourself, not working for a consulting firm. When you're working for a consulting
individual contractor.
When you're an independent independent contractor, different story. But when you're working at a consulting firm, you're still an employee of that consulting firm. You can't work for anybody else. You can try. It might work out for a little bit, but is it going to be beneficial in the end? No. Now, again, if you're an independent contractor, then it's expected that you're going to work multiple jobs, just like the sheetrock contractor works multiple jobs, just like the independent contractor that's staffing housekeeping at hotels. The housekeeping and laundry attendants, they're expected to be working at 3 different locations. But so if you're an independent contractor, that's expected. That's how you make your money.
Yeah.
But if you're on payroll,
FTE,
full-time employment, for a company, you're going to be signing a non-compete agreement.
Yeah.
Among many other things that say you're not going to do what you're asking. So again, it depends on how you're asking. If you're asking it as a full-time employee, no. If you're asking it independently,
that's good. That's good to make that distinction, Chris.
Yeah. And in some cases, it could even land you in prison, because if you're working for two publicly traded companies and you're dealing with competitors and some information gets out, you could find yourself in jail or prison. So no, this is not an option. In fact, I know a really great architect that we trained that said, hey, Mike, I'm only working 4 hours a week and just watching videos. Can I take a second job? And I said, no. And he called me and he said, why? And I was like, well, in this case, these two are competitors, so that would be illegal. You could find yourself in job. You'll get fired from both jobs, and your name will be destroyed forever.
Yeah,
not an option. Yeah.
So again, if you're full-time employment, no. If you're contracting,
yeah,
that's perfectly fine.
As long as you don't have non-competes, which you
right,
probably
yeah. I mean, but that's up to you. You're your employer at that point. You have to make sure that you follow your non-compete agreements with your separate contracts. But,
right. If you have like an LLC company and you're doing that and you have multiple contracts, but you got to make sure they don't cross-pollinate with each other. So it can be very lucrative, but you have to make sure that there's certain checks and balances before you, quote unquote, mess up all of your money.
Yeah. But if we're talking full-time employment, remote jobs where you're on the payroll for an employer, don't risk it.
Right. Yeah. You're going to make plenty of money, but you know, just do it responsibly, so that just you pull out that foundational rock and it pulls everything down like Jenga. So you don't want that to happen.
Yep. The only reason I was going back and forth is because I don't know what a lot of people have ideas about independent consulting, working for themselves. So that's why I asked to answer it that way. We usually get asked at least once every live stream about, can I do this on my own? You could, with some experience. All right. Daniel says, how long after working as a cloud architect can you become an independent contractor? Once you've built the golden Rolodex.
Yeah, when you've got the golden Rolodex, when you've worked on enough people that you can call a chief information officer and say, hey, you have any work for me? And he or she can say yes. Now, that could be 2 years, it could be 10 years, but it depends on how big your Rolodex is.
Yep.
But it would be the last thing I'd be starting for. And the reality is, an architect that's a principal architect is earning $500,000 a year plus getting 6 weeks of paid vacation, and they're getting employee stock purchase plans and all these other things. And you're going to work less hours than you will trying to do it on your own for less money.
Yeah.
There's an expression in the small business. You can pick any 12 hours of the day you want to work, all 7 days each week.
All right. Well, we don't have any more questions so far. So I'm going to wrap things up. And if any questions come in while I'm wrapping things up, we'll get to them. I want to remind everybody about our How to Get Your First Cloud Job webinar. We're actually doing one tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern. So just over 3 hours from now, we're going to be doing another one of these. We're not tired at all. We'll be excited. We'll be energetic.
Always.
Get my Red Bull and coffee in for you guys. Make sure to join us for that if you're able to. We've had a lot of requests from people to do one in the evening, so it's easier for them to attend. So make sure to register at the link in the description and the link in the chat box. For that webinar. It'll be exciting. You can come off mute and ask us questions, watch our presentation about what exactly a cloud architect does and what exactly a cloud architect needs to know and what hiring managers are looking for. So make sure to join us for that. Also to remind everybody about our current discount available for a limited time is 60% off. Of our award-winning Cloud Architect Career Development Program. So make sure to take advantage of that. And then, of course, make sure you're following us on LinkedIn, following Mike, and following Go Cloud Careers on LinkedIn. So let's see if any questions have popped up. No, I haven't had any questions pop up. So I guess that's it.
Okay.
Thank you, everybody. Have a good day. We'll see you this evening.
Take care. See you tonight.